This video is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Hi, this is Chance Foster coming to you from Sharps, Virginia. It's Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. April Fool's Day in the year of the coronavirus. This is episode 2 of a series I call Friendship, the Sea Maiden. Episode 1 covered mainly my relationship to Friendship here, this old girl. Episode 2 is going to focus entirely on friendship and lay the foundation for her story. Thank you for watching and take care.
Friendship, the Sea Maiden, is named after the place where she first turns up in the historical record. From the website, historicalmarkerproject.com, the inscription on a historical marker, located at, or near, 3700 Wisconsin Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. The inscription reads as follows. Friendship was the country estate for 2 generations of the McLean family. The English-style manor house Edenbower was built around 1800 by British Colonel Richard Pyle. Pyle was succeeded by Georgetown University, which used the property as a retreat, popularly known as College Villa. In 1898, Washington Post publisher John R. McLean and his wife Emily purchased the house and subsequently made many improvements. In 1916, the now grand estate was transferred to their son Edward, Ned, and his wife Evelyn Walsh McLean, who lived there until 1941. Ned and Evelyn were the owners of the Hope Diamond, long the Smithsonian Institution's most popular exhibit. Friendship provided its owners with every luxury imaginable, and some that were surprising. Ned and Evelyn's children enjoyed a menagerie of domestic and exotic animals, including a white llama purchased from the Ringling Brothers Circus that roamed freely around the extensive grounds. The estate included a golf course built by Ned McLean. Presidents Harding and Coolidge played golf there, while Mrs. Coolidge enjoyed knitting on the front porch. Among Evelyn's friends was Alice Roosevelt Longworth, daughter of President Theodore Roosevelt. Alice was a leading social figure as well as an irreverent companion. She is still remembered for saying, "If you can't say something nice about someone, sit right here by me." Friendship was raised in 1942 for war housing, and Evelyn moved to 3308 Street, NW, in Georgetown. The original Friendship sign went with her, and is still visible on the house on our street. With deepest gratitude to Peter Waddell, artist, who depicts here Evelyn Walsh McLean and her daughter Emily, near Friendship Mansion and Fountain with the Hope Diamond. According to the website McLeangardens.com. When Ned McLean died in 1941, the property reverted to the trustees of Ned's father, John McLean. In 1942, the estate's trustees sold the property to the federal government, which used the property to build McLean Gardens. The original mansion was torn down in 1942, to make room for a new garden-style dormitory housing complex, for the rapidly growing number of defense workers being hired during World War II. The government sold McLean Gardens in 1948 to the Hartford Insurance Company, which managed the complex as a rental property until 1970. McLean Gardens was eventually converted to condominiums in 1981, and today is considered one of the most desirable addresses in the nation's capital. According to the website, McLeangardensHomes.wordpress.com. The government contracted the Mutual Ownership Defense Housing Division of the Federal Works Agency to build McLean Gardens. Construction began in 1942 and was completed in 1943. When completed, there were accommodations for 720 families and 1,400 singles on the 43 acres. In all, 41 buildings were constructed, 31 apartment buildings, 9 dormitories, and 1 administration building. Although the Friendship House was raised in 1942, an effort was made at that time to preserve some of the estate's original charm. For that reason, the stone wall fronting the property on Wisconsin Avenue remained, and some statuary, used in the front fountain, was saved. Miles of box hedges, several thousand rose bushes, and dozens of magnolia trees were preserved and replanted after construction. In conclusion, the history of Friendship the Sea Maiden is clouded in mystery. After much research, there does not appear to be a definitive answer to how, or when, she and her sister Sirens ended up at John Roll McLean's Friendship estate. It is logical to assume that when Mr. McLean purchased the property in 1889, and thereafter made many improvements, it would be about that time when the fancy Valdozan fountain and accompanying statuary was installed. This undated photo of the fountain, from the Library of Congress, which itself looks to be quite old, is the only clue that one can go by. The fountain and statuary also appear to be quite worn at the time this photo was taken. In the effort to clarify the history of Friendship the Sea Maiden, further research will investigate the connection between she and the mermaids that are located in Praça de Pedro 4 Square, better known as Rocio Square, Lisbon, Portugal. Some noteworthy features of Friendship the Sea Maiden include the following. Most mermaids seen represented in modern culture have just one tail that extends to the waistline. Friendship has 2 tails, with everything above the tails being normal human female anatomy. In Poland, the legend of Syringa, a twin-tailed siren, or mermaid, goes back to the 14th century. There is a sculpture of Syringa in Warsaw's Old Town Square, that was designed by Varsovian sculptor Konstanty Hegel in the 19th century. From the website SymbolDictionary.net. Alchemically, the siren's 2 tails represent unity of earth and water, body and soul, and the vision of universal Mercury, the all-pervading anima mundi that calls out and makes the philosopher yearn to her. A unique feature of Friendship the Sea Maiden, not found on other mermaid statues around the world, is the open, laurel leaf wreath crown she wears on her head. In Greek mythology, crowns made from laurel leaves are closely associated with gods and goddesses. Laurel wreath crowns are said by historians to first be instituted by the Greek god Apollo, Olympian god of the sun and light, to remember his lost love interest, Daphne, a sea nymph who was turned into a laurel tree, at her request, by a river god. To escape Apollo's unwanted passion, ancient laurel wreaths are most often depicted as horseshoe shape. Modern versions are usually complete rings. Another unique feature of Friendship the Sea Maiden, not found on other mermaid statues, is the cornucopia she is holding, over her right shoulder. In classical antiquity, the cornucopia, from Latin cornu copiae, also called the horn of plenty, was a symbol of abundance and nourishment, commonly a large horn-shaped container overflowing with produce, flowers or nuts. The cornucopia became the attribute of several Greek and Roman deities, particularly those associated with the harvest, prosperity, or spiritual abundance, such as personifications of earth, Gaia or Terra, the child Plutus, god of riches and son of the grain goddess Demeter, the nymph Maia, and Fortuna, the goddess of luck, who had the power to grant prosperity. Another notable feature of Friendship the Sea Maiden, rarely, if ever, seen on mermaid statues, is the noticeable baby bump on her abdomen. It appears to possibly represent, in symbolic form, the divine feminine, or Mother Earth. It also appears that Friendship was originally painted gold, which is associated with the sun, the divine, and raised spiritual consciousness. Another fact about Friendship, she has a strong magnetic field, which is very unusual for a bronze statue. There are certain aspects about the events and circumstances surrounding Friendship the Sea Maiden that have very little factual information that supports the popular historical narrative. Future videos will explore some of these aspects and attempt to provide some clarity to some of these matters that seem rather mysterious to an inquiring mind. The more information that becomes available, the more questions it seems that arise. Questions concerning Friendship the Sea Maiden that will be further investigated include the following: who actually designed and created her? Where was she cast or manufactured? What metal alloy is she made of? How did she end up in Washington, D.C.? We will also explore the meaning of the symbols, and possible spiritual messages, of her creator, or creators. To answer the question of who designed and created Friendship the Sea Maiden, the best place to start is in Lisbon, Portugal, where an exact copy of Friendship stands in a centuries-old plaza, popularly known as Rocio Square. From Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. The Rocio is the popular name of the King Pedro IV Square, Portuguese, Praça de Pedro IV, in the city of Lisbon, in Portugal. It is located in the Pombalene downtown of Lisbon and has been one of its main squares since the Middle Ages. The name Rocio is roughly equivalent to the word commons in English, and refers to a commonly owned terrain. Most buildings around the Rocio date from the reconstruction of the Pombalene downtown carried out after the Great 1755 Lisbon earthquake, which leveled most structures in the area, including the magnificent All Saints Hospital. Only the Palace of the Independence survived the catastrophic earthquake. From the website mermaidsoffearth.com. There are two large fountains in Rocio Square, made in France in 1889, each with 4 divinities in the center, and 4 mermaids along the perimeter. The bronze sculptures were created by sculptors Michel-Joseph Napoleon Léonard, and Madaron Moreau, and were installed with the fountains in 1889. They were created in Val d'Oise, France and then imported to Portugal. The popular internet search engines show only one image of Michel Joseph Napoleon Léonard, who very closely resembles Joseph Napoleon Bonaparte when images of both are put side by side. From Wikipedia. Joseph Napoleon Bonaparte, Comte de Surveillers, born Giuseppe di Bonaparte, Italian, Giuseppe Bonaparte, Spanish, José Napoleón Bonaparte, January 7, 1768, July 28, 1844, was a French lawyer and diplomat, the older brother of Napoleon Bonaparte, who made him King of Naples and Sicily, 1806 to 1808, as Giuseppe I, and later King of Spain, 1808 to 1813, as José I. After the fall of Napoleon, Joseph styled himself Comte de Surveillers. From Wikipedia. Michel Joseph Napoleon Léonard, 1810 to 1870, was a French sculptor and ornamentalist. Works variants of the same fountain design were used by Léonard multiple times, with minor alterations. Brewer Fountain, Boston, Massachusetts, United States of America. Steeple Fountain, Liverpool, England, United Kingdom. Tourney Fountain, Quebec City, Quebec, Canada, previously in Bordeaux, France. Tourney Fountain, Soulac-sur-Mer, France. Mel Fountain, Angers, France. Fountain in Prince's Square, Launceston, Tasmania, Australia. Fountain in the English Garden in Geneva, Switzerland. In addition, there are several other fountains, around the world, that are generally thought to be based on the same, Michel Joseph Napoleon Léonard's model, and cast by Val d'Osna, in France. They would include Plaza Victoria Fountain, Valparaiso, Chile. Tacna Ornamental Fountain, a fountain located in Paseo Chivico, the center of the city of Tacna, Peru. It was acquired and given to the city of Tacna by the governor, Mr. José Balta, in 1869. And, according to Wikipedia, it was forged in England, by the Simpson Foundry. Terreiro de Jesus Fountain, Salvador, Brazil. It may not be too bold to state, that of all the so-called Val d'Osna fountains, scattered around the world, the two that are located in King Pedro IV Square, or Praça de Pedro IV, in Lisbon, Portugal, are the only ones, paired with mermaids like Friendship the Sea Maiden. While Michel Léonard is most often associated with designing the fountains themselves, Mauderon Moreau is most often credited with the creation of the mythological statues at the base of the fountains, and the four Mahdi holding hands at the top. From the available information, it would appear that the Val d'Osna fountain located in King Pedro IV Square, Lisbon, Portugal, and the Val d'Osna fountain originally located on the Friendship estate of John Roll McLean, in Washington, D.C., are the only ones in the world that have, or had, statues of mermaids like Friendship the Sea Maiden. It should also be noted that the McLean's Friendship estate fountain is the only Val d'Osna fountain known to have been privately owned. There is no evidence in the available public record that clearly states how a Val d'Osna fountain, and a possible 8 mermaids, found their way from France to Friendship Estate, which today is the fashionable Washington, D.C., garden-style neighborhood of McLean Gardens. Future research will explore what connection there might be between the Friendship Estate in Washington, D.C., USA, and King Pedro IV Square in Lisbon, Portugal, particularly during the 19th century, when these Val d'Osna fountains are said to have been installed. From the website, markmaison.com. Quote, the Val d'Osna Company was an art foundry founded in 1835 by Jean-Pierre André Victor, inventor of the cast iron ornamental technique. Its original purpose was for manufacturing street furniture and decorative cast iron. The company quickly became the largest art cast iron maker in France under the name Val d'Osna Art Foundry. Unquote. So, the Val d'Osna Foundry was best known for manufacturing fine art with cast iron. The statues in King Pedro IV Square are officially listed as being cast with bronze. The question is, how was the Val d'Azan foundry in France able to produce all these high-quality fountains and bronze statues that are seen all around the world today? What copper alloy Friendship the Sea Maiden is made of is open to speculation. According to various sources on the internet, the mermaids of King Pedro IV Square are made of bronze. Since Friendship appears to be an exact copy of 4 of these mermaids, and said sources are correct, it is reasonable to assume she is made of bronze. Upon scraping off the old paint from Friendship, the surface revealed a color that is consistent with the reddish-brown color of bronze. In addition, there were no signs of rust to be found on her. From Wikipedia. Quote, "Bronze is usually non-magnetic, but certain alloys containing iron or nickel may have magnetic properties." End quote. Metals that attract magnets are known as ferromagnetic metals. Some examples are iron, cobalt, nickel, manganese, gadolinium and lodestone. Friendship has a strong magnetic field, indicating that she must be made of a bronze alloy, consisting of copper, and one or more of these ferromagnetic metals. What are the spiritual messages Friendship the Sea Maiden conveying in the symbolism that is so apparent when one focuses on her artistic peculiarities? From Wikipedia. Quote, "The word mermaid is a compound of the Old English, mere, sea, and maid, a girl or young woman. The equivalent term in Old English was, merwife. They are conventionally depicted as beautiful with long flowing hair. A mermaid with 2 tails is referred to as a Melusine. Melusines appear in German heraldry, and less frequently in the British version. Melusine, French, Melusine, or Melusina, is a figure of European folklore and mythology, a female spirit of fresh water in a sacred spring or river. She is usually depicted as a woman who is a serpent or fish from the waist down, much like a mermaid. She is also sometimes illustrated with wings, 2 tails, or both. Her legends are especially connected with the northern and western areas of France, Luxembourg, and the Low Countries. A shield and sword-wielding mermaid, Syringa, is on the official coat of arms of Warsaw, Poland. Images of a mermaid have symbolized Warsaw on its arms since the middle of the 14th century. Several legends associate Triton of Greek mythology with the city, which may have been the origin of the Mermaids Association." Unquote. What is the meaning of Friendship's 2 tails, pointing in opposite directions? From the website, whatismyspiritanimal.com. Quote, "Celtic tradition has a long-standing relationship with magical water creatures. Sprites and nymphs often lived nearby sacred falls and wells. The mermaid, however, lives in the sea. In this culture, the symbolism and meaning of mermaid is that of the feminine element of the universe. It is powerful and mysterious. The image of the double-tailed mermaid adorns many churches, and represents the ultimate Celtic goddess, Sheila na gig." End quote.
By symbols, men have ever sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitations of language. When the human race learns to read the language of symbolism, a great veil will fall from the eyes of men. They shall then know truth, and more than that, they shall realize that from the beginning, truth has been in the world, unrecognized.
From Melchizedek and the Mystery of Fire, by Manly P. Hall. What is the difference between an open, horseshoe-shaped laurel wreath, like the one Friendship wears, and the closed laurel wreath that is so often depicted in Roman and Greek art? From the website, mysticurious.com, quote, "Apart from being a symbol of victory, laurel leaves are also believed to be a sign of fame, success, and prosperity, and according to the Bible, they are also considered to be an emblem of the resurrection of Christ. Additionally, laurel leaves are believed to keep one away from evil influences, and are supposed to protect against lightning." End quote. Here are images of a recent night photo of friendship. The orb-like apparition was not visible to the naked eye, and was barely visible in the original photo. From Melchizedek and the Mystery of Fire, a treatise in 3 parts, by Manly P. Hall.
To those capable of seeing the light of these spiritual orbs, there is no darkness, for they dwell in the presence of limitless light, and at midnight, see the sun shining under their feet.
Pictured are images of symbols, located in Washington, D.C., that may provide valuable clues to solving some of the mysteries surrounding friendship, and they will be the subject of future research. From foxloft.com. Griffin symbolism: pride, strength, vigilance. Traditionally part eagle and part lion, it is a symbol of duality, power, and courage. From mythology.net. A griffin is a chimeric creature, with incredible strength, unfailing protective instincts, and a zero-tolerance policy against evil. It is the superhero of mythological creatures. No villain can mess with the griffin. Future episodes of Friendship the Sea Maiden will delve more deeply into the unspoken language of symbolism that we are all exposed to on a daily basis, and how it may affect our unconscious lives, both for the good and the bad. The mermaid archetype, in particular, will be a major focus of future research, in an effort to better understand what meanings friendship's creator was trying to convey to his or her audience through her unique artistic elements and symbolic features. In closing, here are 2 relevant quotes from Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. First published, 1928.
To live in the world, without becoming aware of the meaning of the world, is like wandering about in a great library, without touching the books. It has always seemed to me that symbolism should be restored to the structure of world education. The young are no longer invited to seek the hidden truths, dynamic and eternal, locked within the shapes and behavior of living beings. The mythologies of many nations contain accounts of gods who came out of the sea. Certain shamans among the American Indians tell of holy men dressed in birds' feathers and wampum, who rose out of the blue waters, and instructed them in the arts and crafts. Among the legends of the Chaldeans, is that of Oannes, a partly amphibious creature, who came out of the sea, and taught the savage peoples along the shore to read and write, till the soil, cultivate herbs for healing, study the stars, establish rational forms of government, and become conversant with the sacred mysteries.